So if you do any kind of filmmaking on the go, you're gonna need some kind of travel tripod. And today I'm doing a review of the Ulanzi Video Go TT09 Travel Tripod. Now I've had this for about 8 months and it has served me pretty well, so I wanted to tell you guys about it. This is, first of all, an actually not sponsored video. Not even just they sent it to me for free and didn't tell me what to say, kind of not sponsored. I bought this with about $240 of my own money last year and have been using it ever since, basically as my primary tripod. So I want to tell you the things I like about it, as well as a couple of drawbacks that you should know about. So Ulanzi makes two variations of this tripod. There's the Arca Swiss plate variation and then the F38 plate, which I think is Ulanzi's custom sort of variation on Arca Swiss, if I remember right. I got the Arca Swiss version because that's what I use. The things that attracted me to this tripod were the fact that it has a fluid head and the fact that it has a center column here. So a lot of travel tripods don't have either of those things. Obviously this fluid head isn't like super fancy like you get on a much more expensive studio tripod, but it does enable you to get some nice fluid camera moves that you wouldn't be able to with a regular photography travel tripod. Honestly, I wanted this feature, but I have really never used it in the last 8 months. Since I'm almost always in front of the camera when I need it to be on a tripod, I'm pretty much always just locking it off and having it static. But I have tested it out and it works pretty nice. The tilt axis is a little bit spring-loaded actually, which is kind of interesting. So there's always a little bit of load on that axis. And then the pan axis is, there's a little bit of friction to break it free from when it's still, to get over that static friction. But once you're in motion, it's pretty smooth. Anyway, it does the job pretty well. The center column is another feature that a lot of travel tripods don't have. And the reason I wanted this was I was reading what somebody said online about if you're trying to use a tripod for filming something on a table or something like that, if the only height adjustment you have is on the legs, you're gonna have to be adjusting the height of all 3 legs to get it to just the right height. With a center column, you can set it to pretty close, maybe a few inches below the table height, and then just use the screw of the center column here to adjust up and down to dial it in by just a little bit. So it's much more convenient if you're doing something like that, and I knew I would be, like when I do unboxing videos and things like that, I do it on a table. On the bottom of the column, you also have a hook so you can hang a weight or your camera bag or whatever there to stabilize the tripod if you need to. And a really cool feature that having the center column offers is you can actually invert it and put it in upside down so your camera is attached kind of for an underslung camera angle real close to the ground. You do need some tools to set that up and make that change, but a feature that's really unique on this tripod is you actually have a screwdriver and Allen wrench in the grip of the head here. So you unscrew the back here, and in there you have a few screwdriver heads and Allen wrenches. You pull out the one you need to use, snap it into the screw of the little handle here, and then you can use it for whatever you need. So this one's too big for anything. I'm not sure what it goes to. Anyway, there's Allen heads all over the tripod that you might need to tighten or loosen or whatever, including the set screw to be able to separate the video head from the column so you can take out the column and flip it upside down. But it's everything you need to work on this tripod is right here in the handle of the head. So that's a pretty cool thing. Speaking of tightening and loosening things, build quality on here is really good. These tripods are expensive, and when you're first getting into the travel tripod scene, you might be kind of daunted by, I mean, like the kind of industry standard popular Peak Design travel tripod is like 600 bucks. So that's kind of the budget we're talking about. This is only 240, but still that seems like a lot of money. When you get it though and hold it in your hand, it kind of makes sense. This is a really well-built piece of equipment that'll last a long time and do a lot of good work. So I've been really happy with it. It's well-built, durable, it feels good, carbon fiber construction, which is just cool. When I first got it, I was a little bit disappointed that the Arca Swiss plate up here had a little bit of play between the plate and the video head, which I would assume this is what they swap out to make it the F38 version or the Arca Swiss version. And it ended up having a negative impact on some of my videos, especially on really long zoom shots, because there was that little bit of play in the mounting, which was just a bummer. It wasn't until later that I realized there's little Allen screws on the bottom side of that plate that you can just tighten to cinch it down and make it tight. So I wish I'd realized that sooner, and I wish those had been tightened all the way at the factory. But it's just things like that. It's a well-built piece of equipment, and it even has, you know, maintenance ability. You can, if something's loose, you can probably tighten it down. So I wanted to show you how long it takes to set up this tripod, because I'm out here on an overlanding trip and pretty often I have to move pretty quickly to get a shot. So first of all, you need to unscrew this right here to get the tilt axis handle free so it can tilt up like this. Then I'll screw it back down so it's locked in on the grooves that are on here. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put the tripod legs out, I can undo all 4 latches at once and they all telescope out. Latch them all down. This is obviously if I'm setting it up to be max height at, you know, as quickly as possible, which it's not a super tall tripod, so most of the time you're gonna want it at max height. Generally speaking, if you're filming people who are standing up, probably. All right, and there you go. All 4 are down. Just give them a good little tug to make sure they're out all the way. And there you go. If you want to go ahead and raise up the center column here, you can do that like so. A little uneven here, so I'm going to adjust the ball head so we're leveled up a little bit better. And boom, putting your camera into the Arca Swiss mount, you'll be done and ready to film. So even with me talking, it took like about a minute. So there you go. Sets up pretty quickly. Let's talk about stability, because I certainly wondered when I see this thing all set up at its full height, it looks kind of spindly. Is it actually stable? Would I trust it putting my expensive camera gear on top? And I would say yes, it's more stable than it looks. At the lower heights, it's very sturdy, very rock solid. And then at the higher heights, the main concern would be it's a little more exposed to damage. So if you were to kick it or something, like it could get broken. So you definitely wouldn't want to do that. But as far as like the wind blowing it over and stuff like that, I haven't really felt any concern for that. And it is strong enough. They say it has a 44-pound weight capacity, which that's pretty high. Let me check that. Max payload, 44 pounds, yeah. So that's where if you wanted to make it even more stable by attaching some weight on the hook here, that's something you could do. But yeah, I haven't had any issues with stability. I've used it with my Lumix S5 II, not with a particularly heavy lens, but I have also mounted my gimbal on here with the S5 II on it, and it handled that just fine. In that case, I did feel better about having it lower and not extended all the way to max height. Oh, and I've also used this for mounting a 360 camera, for taking 360 pictures. So this is a good option too for an action camera or 360 camera because it's light. It weighs about 3.3 pounds. Let's talk about the legs themselves. There's 3 of them, hence the name tripod. They have 4 adjustments here, 4 clasps, and you saw in the speed test, they all pop out really quickly. It's pretty cool. And then there's 3 locking points for the legs. This is the main locking point, but then you can pull down on this lever, this handle here, whatever you want to call it, and push it on up. And then there's the second locking point right there. And I think there's also a third one even higher. Yeah. So if you want to go full, I don't know, spider mode, you can do that to get a super low shot. Obviously for doing this, you would have to take out the center column here, which there's just a set screw here like I was talking about earlier. It's the same process. You gotta take loosen the set screw and pull this column out. But this is real handy, just making your tripod more versatile. A lot of times something that I would experience with tripods is that obviously they're great for keeping the camera stable, but if you're trying to get a low angle shot, the tripod gets in your way and you have to take your camera off and just go handheld or whatever, balance it on some rocks or something to get a shot right on ground level. This tripod has a lot of options that mean you don't really have to worry with that. You can have it on the tripod and still get a low angle shot. Not something I do a ton, honestly. I kind of forget about it. But you know, most of the use I have for this tripod is just setting it up like I'm doing here for a talking head or something like that, or I need to film myself but don't want to be vlogging. Last feature I want to talk about is the ball head. I don't think all travel tripods have one of these. It doesn't have the most degree of motion maybe, but you can level out to, I don't know, what is that, about 15 degrees if you need to. This seems like it could be a failure point. I haven't found it to be so. I use this a ton, loosening this clasp and clamping it back down, and it hasn't really weakened or shown any signs of wear. So I'm pretty confident that's pretty well made. Last thing I want to tell you about here is the issues I've had with this tripod. It hasn't been a ton, but there's a few things that you want to watch out for. So first of all, the center column height adjustment, it's a little stiff, a little grindy. It's just kind of metal on metal, so it's not super smooth. You loosen this set screw on the side and then you pull this out. It's just not a beautiful design, but I understand it because they're saving, you know, space and weight, but that is a little bit little rough. Another small thing is the included Arca Swiss plate that it comes with, at least for the Arca Swiss version, which is what I got. It has these little screws that are on the underside of the plate that set into the mount here and keep the camera from sliding forward or backward if the thumb screw is loose on the side here. Now I like that for safety reasons. It makes sure your camera is not gonna come loose even if you forgot to tighten the screw. The issue though is that to get your plate off of there, you have to loosen the thumb screw all the way, like to be able to just pull the plate straight out. instead of being able to loosen it just a little bit, so you just pull, or you can just slide the plate forward or backward. So I chose to remove those screws just to make it easier to get the camera on and off. Yes, I am jeopardizing it a little bit more than with having those screws. It's nice to have that safety, but I was willing to take that risk for the convenience that having the screws removed gave me. Yeah, it's a super small thing, I know. And if you already have Arca Swiss plates, you're probably not even using the one that comes with the tripod anyway. The only real significant issue I have with this tripod is the max height. It tops out at 56 inches, which is about chest high on me, because I'm about 6'2" or 6'3" in shoes. So if I'm trying to film myself not sitting like I am right now, the camera's got to be a little ways away, or I got to kind of hunch down, or I got to set it up on a table or on a hill or something to get it to an eye level on me, which is that is a little frustrating. Honestly though, it's a limitation of travel tripods. That Peak Design tripod I was talking about, that's kind of the industry standard. It only goes up to 60 inches. That would be about, you know, chin high. It would still be kind of low. So it's just kind of the trade-off you have when you're talking about a light travel tripod that is designed for being quick and being easy to travel with. So at some point, I guess I will be investing in a sturdy studio grade tripod that I use around the house and in town and don't travel with. So there you go. That is my thoughts on the Ulanzi Video Go Travel Tripod. If you want to check it out for yourself, I have the links down in the description below. While you're down there, be sure to hit the like button, but only if you found value in the video. I'll see you guys next time.